Hello friend, if you're brand new to the channel, I'm Dani Walker. Welcome to the finals recap for Miss Universe Thailand 2021. If you enjoy this episode, I hope that you'll consider subscribing and hitting the notifications so you know when brand new episodes just like this one come out every single week. There were some surprises in this show. Please stay tuned till the end to see what I'm talking about, because to me, there were some things that I think were very unexpected for many of us to see. But before we get into that, let's first talk about the opening. I think that we need to acknowledge the host of Miss Universe Thailand. I am not sure if I have talked about him before in past episodes, but I love him. I think he does a fantastic job. He speaks in Thai, he translates in English, but what I love about him is that he's so fun, professional, and enthusiastic. He has been one of the most enjoyable hosts for me personally to watch. If you watch the show, I think you'll see what I'm talking about. So talented. I am also going to acknowledge the fact that they brought back former contestants and title holders for this show, which I love. Listen, I know that we are in the habit of only bringing back a Miss USA or a Miss Universe to host Miss Teen USA, Miss USA, or Miss Universe. Yeah, that's how it's been going on for years. But listen, call me up Miss USA or Miss Universe. I am ready to host. I have been waiting. I have been practicing. I know how to read a cue card. I will announce the correct winner. Can you just imagine? I can imagine it. This is me dreaming. Here it is. Good evening and welcome to the 2022 Miss USA competition held live at Madison Square Garden. Come on, I'll practice. Let's talk about Swimsuit, because that's the first thing that we saw the contestants recompete in. First of all, loved the body chains on the contestants. I haven't seen it done in this way where they were much thicker. We've seen light body chains, I feel like, in pageants before, but not in this way. So it was interesting to see the chains and how they actually added movement when the contestants were walking. It was just great to see. It was unique. It was different. I loved it. I thought the contestants were beautiful. And I had a few performances that were my favorites. And so I'm going to share with you my faves if I were judging contestants that are standing out to me. Number two, Tarina. Those hips. Immediately. It was immediately a yes for me. Solidified it. Solidified a spot in the top 5 in my head. Number 13, we have to talk about how she turned it on for finals. I felt like she was a new contestant. What in the world was that change between prelims and the energy she was bringing there and then the energy she brought to finals? Who in the world gave her a pep talk? What happened? Was this a part of the game plan? I don't know, but clearly it worked and she was immediately a standout, although she's already been one of my favorites. When I saw her in swim, she was shooting right up to the top 5. Number 24, she's been one of my faves too, but during finals, the energy that she brought to swim was so fun. For me, this was the best swimsuit walk I have seen her do, and what better night than on finals to bring your best walk. Number 23, I am obsessed with her. I'm obsessed with this walk. What is going on? I think that she needs to represent Thailand internationally for one of the major titles. She has to. Is the problem interview or onstage question? What is it that has potentially held her back from a national title for Thailand? Tell me more. I need to know. If it is interview, no worries. We can work on that. But the way that she performs on stage immediately captures your attention. Number 27, gorgeous. I will say too, the hairstyling that she had for this, it reminded me of very Victoria's Secret days, the runway shows that they had. Wow, loved that. And I like that she posed at the end of the runway. She had a great pose there. Some of the contestants did not stop for Swimsuit, and I wonder why. I'm curious if that's because of the timing of the show. That's stuff that happens at Miss USA and Miss Universe. For example, you only have a certain amount of time so that everybody gets the exact same amount of camera time. So they usually have somebody at the end of the stage directing each contestant saying, come forward, wait, pause, or get off the stage. And I'm wondering if that is what happened with some of the contestants or if they actually chose not to pose. But I think that it's a mistake not to pose at the end of that runway. One of the biggest surprises to me that I feel like we have to talk about, that some of you were already commenting in my other episode, was what happened to number 29. Where did she go? What happened during her interview? Because that's the only thing I can think of. I thought she was solid for preliminaries. She was in my top picks. I don't understand what happened. I need some more insights on this. If you know, please comment below. But I was astounded that she was not a semifinalist, and sad. Very sad about it. I was invested. If you haven't seen this show yet, go watch it, because I also have to show you this clip. At the end of Swimsuit, they made it look like these contestants were standing on the edge of a waterfall. When I was watching this and taking notes, I literally had in my notes 10 different exclamation points, because I made that note of, it looks like they were on a waterfall. That is so cool. It is so cool. I want to compete on a stage like that. If you're enjoying this episode, I hope you're going to consider subscribing and hitting the notifications bell so that you can check out more new episodes. And if you want to know of other ways to support the channel, then please check out the merch store that is linked right below as well. Or simply screenshot this episode, share it with your friends on social media. That is also a huge help. Moving along to gown, these contestants brought what I was expecting. When I watched the preliminary gowns, I was very concerned about some of the styles the contestants were wearing, because last year I felt like a lot of the contestants really brought their A game to the preliminary gown competition. Because the fact is, ladies, you cannot think that you are gonna get into a final. You can't go into a pageant with that attitude. You always have to bring your best. You don't just wanna wear a safe gown to prelims saying, oh, I'm definitely making it into finals, and that's when I'm gonna wear an incredible gown. You can't take that for granted. And I felt like some of the contestants take that for granted, not just here, but in any organization. So when I saw these gown changes for finals, I was thankful, and I was like, yes, ladies, stepping it up. I appreciate these gown changes. Here are my thoughts on favorites. Number 2, she was very pretty, very elegant. Her walk, fortunately, because she was first, was just so well timed with the music. You have to actually watch the show to get the full effect for this performance, but the music made it even better. And the gown was beautiful. I would say it was equally as beautiful as her preliminary gown. I actually would have swapped the two. I really liked the preliminary gown, but in this case, it's okay because they were really on that same level of quality. A similar comparison, I would say, would be Iris when she competed at Miss Universe. Prelims gown, gorgeous, stood out. Finals gown, gorgeous, stood out. They were on that same level. She could have swapped the two and I think still won. They were great choices. Number 13, oh my gosh, what a gown change that was. I like her preliminary gown. It was different, unique. I think that it was a great choice. But when she came out for finals, I was like, yes, this is a show-stopping gown. I loved the hip details, and it just gave her so much shape on stage. The white was perfect on her, but it was a sheer white. It was so beautiful and unique. I loved it, and I was just like, whoa, okay, where is this coming from? Once again, where is this coming from? Whole new contestant for finals. Number 21, I do want to say this was my favorite performance from her. Number 27, our queen, yay, we got a gown change that I was hoping for. Awesome. I heard that this is the swan gown. Very beautiful. It looked stunning on stage. I think it was a great choice for finals. Now we do have to talk about the walk. A lot of people are talking about her walk and saying some not nice things, guys, and that's never good. I want you to remember that the perfect walk doesn't win a pageant. Do I think that the walk can be improved for Miss Universe? Yes. Do I think it's gonna matter? Yes. I think that the way that you carry yourself on stage, it's one of the things that makes you attractive to judges. So I think work can be done, and I think that there's time for that, but I feel like people are really criticizing the walk and forgetting that a walk doesn't just win the Miss Universe crown. So it's gonna be okay, guys. It's gonna be okay, she's gonna do just fine. But I think that her walk actually got better throughout finals, especially after the top 5. When she walked out and they did that final look, that was a great moment for her. Number 23, I just thought about bringing back that bikini gown, that really iconic gown. I believe Miss Japan wore that gown years ago at Miss Universe, and that was exactly what I thought of, that gown slash swim look. It was interesting. The walk itself, though, I wish she would have slowed it down. I wish that we would have seen something a little bit more relaxed for finals, but still gorgeous, still one of my favorites, and I still would have given her a great score if I was judging. Number 24, I'm gonna be honest, I was a bit distracted by this gown. I cannot remember the designer that it is reminding me of. I know that it's saved somewhere on my Pinterest, but the gown I felt like for finals was a lot. The black and white is great, it was classic, but then when we added the really heavy ornate gold details, it was a lot for me to take in, and I was so focused on the gown that it wasn't until she almost reached the end of the runway that I was like, wait a second, I need to pay attention to her. And so for me, it was personally distracting, but still has been one of my favorites, and so that's definitely something I would have taken into consideration. Number 5, look at her in those semifinals. Guys, I talked about this. I talked about her preliminary performances that have been really good, and that if she had a great interview score that I could see her advancing into a semifinal, and here she is. I also really loved this gown change. I love the extreme points on the bodice. It was just a really unique detail, and it made the gown different. It made it stand out. If you're a pageant contestant and you want to feel more confident in your interview or for your onstage question, I always suggest to start by creating a personal brand so you know your own messaging, you know your story, you know what you want to share with judges and with the audience. And if you need help doing that, then click the description below where you can find out more about Rehearsed to Relatable. Now let's talk about these onstage questions. In our top 5, we had contestants 27, 23, 24, 13, and 2. Contestants that we weren't really surprised, at least for me, to see in the top 5. I thought this made sense, and I'm really curious what it would have looked like if number 29 was in there. Some of the contestants answered in English, and so I am able to share about this, and others answered in Thai, so I don't have a great opinion on those answers, but let's do what we can. Number 27, she was asked, on November 1st, Thailand opens the country to international visitors. As a Thai citizen, how would you prepare for this? She said that we should all get vaccinated, but you should have the choice to choose which vaccination is right for you. And in that way, you can open your hearts and be open to the country without hesitation. So something along those lines. It was good. She presented it well. It was a solid answer. She didn't stumble through it. Number 23, if you were to speak to world leaders, what issues would you speak about? And she talked about education because it's the key to success. Now, I will talk about this in her delivery. It was very rushed. I think that affected her. She stumbled over a few words, and I think that was a result of rushing through the answer. Then she said that she couldn't afford education, and she's one of those people that's been affected by the educational system or lack thereof, and that she's going back to school, and that the government, at the end she mentioned, the government should subsidize education. I'm also going to throw in the fact that I really like the staging for onstage question. I like that the contestants were in the back and then they got to walk the runway a bit and then give the answer. It was great. Number 24 was asked, what are the benefits of digital assets in our society? And personally, I was a little bit confused by that. I'm not exactly sure what they mean by digital assets. Do you mean phones? Do you mean digital technology? Do you mean apps? Do you mean the internet? Whatever it is. I could hear that she mentioned the internet somewhere in there, I believe, but her answer was in Thai, so I don't have a great grip on the quality of the answer. Number 13 also answered in Thai, so I don't have that translation, and if you want to leave the translations in the comments below, I'm sure everybody would greatly appreciate that. But her question was, for the past 2 years, what positive aspects have you learned from COVID? Very common question we're hearing a lot in these times. Number 2 was asked, how would you teach your children about sexual harassment? I think that's such a great, important question. She said she would teach them to always speak up and never feel afraid, because if you don't, people, abusers, will carry on their behaviors. You're not alone, and we will all be there for you. And it was just a great, strong message, and the way that she communicated it was wonderful. Then we got narrowed down to a top 3, and our top 3 were number 27, which makes sense, number 13, I'm not sure. You guys weigh in on that, but she sounded like she delivered her answer very well, her first one initially, but it was in Thai, so I'm not sure. And then number 2. At this point, they were all asked the same question, and it was essentially this: if you become Miss Universe Thailand, it certainly means that you have a powerful voice. Climate change has been a big issue, and some people don't believe it's real. How would you raise awareness for this? And so number 27 was very passionate about this answer. I feel, because of the way that she answered it, that she has some personal connection to this, or that, as we all do, or that she really cares about this topic. She said, I would present them with empirical evidence, which is hard to ignore because it's irresponsible to ignore, but I would also mention neutralism. She talked about, if you are neutral, then you are then on the side of an oppressor, and we have a responsibility to do what's right for our younger generations. So I would pull our social and moral responsibility card because it's essential for the human race to continue in a safe manner. So she essentially spoke with a lot of conviction, and I think that that's what really helped her. Number 13 answered in Thai. It sounded pretty good, like it was going well, and then I think she went over the time limit, so she was abruptly stopped and I would assume couldn't continue her answer, so that can definitely affect scoring. Number 2. Oh man. So she said, climate change is a serious issue today. We need to speak up and do the little things we can to reduce waste. And then something happened. She got thrown off, and then she continued on to say, and teach everyone to do their best to make the world a better place. And she wasn't out of time yet, but she cut herself off and just said, thank you, and abruptly ended. And there goes your shot at the crown. So once we saw these 3 contestants, one of them answered very well, and the other 2 either got cut off or cut themselves off and stumbled through the answer, the placements made sense. When you hear this as a judge, and you have to think about the fact that you're sending a contestant to Miss Universe and she's going to be under so much pressure, and she has to be able to get through that onstage question and excel in it at the international level, this is a test of that. This is a test of how she will potentially perform. So at this point, of course, the results were what they were. So second runner-up was number 13. First runner-up was number 2, and our winner was Anchilee, number 27. Yay! I want to say that I think the new title holder is gorgeous. Gorgeous. She is someone who, when you look at photos of the contestants in groups, has stood out. She really stood out at that Sparkle Gala that they hold. She was one of my favorites there. She has that real natural beauty that I think is so common to see in Miss Universe title holders, and that's something that we cannot replicate through augmentation or injections. And no matter how good our technology is and how far medicine has come along, it's so hard, I feel like, to compete with a contestant who is that naturally beautiful, who has great skin and hair and she's got all the bells and whistles. So it's like, that is something that she has that I think is a real asset at the Miss Universe competition. She's stunning and very photogenic. Obviously, people have talked about her walk, and yeah, there is room for improvement, but it isn't something that I think that can't be overcome. She also is a very strong speaker, and that's something that I think for Thailand has prevented them from moving on in the competition in recent years, and that's something that a lot of people have talked about. So I think that this year they were really going for that contestant with strong speaking abilities. And not to say that they should neglect the walking and the onstage presentation, but her natural beauty and those speaking abilities, I think, are going to fare very well at the Miss Universe competition. So as long as she can keep working on that walk, guys, Thailand should still do very well at Miss Universe this year. That's it for this episode. If you want to see anything special on the channel, please leave your requests below. I'm always paying attention to those, and that's how these episodes come about. So thank you so much for tuning into this episode, and I hope to see you at the next one.